Oh look, a shower cap. Today on BleepinJeep, I'm going to show you how to install beadlock wheels. Stay tuned. Okay, so check out this aluminum wheel from Raceline. It's a 15-inch wheel. It's 8 inches wide. I like to run a narrow width wheel on my larger tires. That way the wheel doesn't get so chewed up. So I've got, I think this is called the Monster. You can specify whether you want this all in black. I think they have an option for all aluminum, and this, which is black and aluminum. And then I've got the steel ring. You can have an option of a steel ring or aluminum ring. So I chose the steel. And this is an optional spacer that is for my Super Swamper tires or some thick beaded tires. It just takes up that gap because on the Super Swamper tires the beads are really thick. So there's that. And then it comes with a bag of hardware. Let me show you what you need to install this sucker. Alright, just a warning up front, I've read the directions for this wheel. I install beadlocks a little bit differently. If you want to follow the directions, go ahead, but I've got a little bit different technique. What I use is some Windex, soapy water. Of course you're going to need an air chuck, and I like to use an air ratchet. Just speeds things up a little bit. You're going to need a 1/2 inch socket. For this particular wheel, I found that I needed 2 flathead screwdrivers. Of course, the hardware, you'll need a bucket, towel, and I'm going to use RTV. You could use silicone. Now the directions for a beadlock wheel don't call for any kind of sealant, but I've had a lot of problems in the past, and a lot of people use some kind of sealant just to give it a little bit extra protection, because the only thing that holds this wheel on are the tire on are these bolts going around here. So I am going to give it a shot, see what happens, see if it helps. Let's start. The first thing I noticed about this wheel is that it has this lip around here on the beadlock. That's the first I've seen, so that's really cool, and it did help a lot when I was putting this on. Normally this would just be a flat surface on most beadlocks that I've ever seen, and you have to kind of center the tire on there and kind of eyeball it to see if it's centered. This one, the bead actually sits inside this ring, and you know it's perfectly centered, so that's a really cool feature on this one. The first thing that I want to make sure of is that the tire and the bead is perfectly clean, so I'm going to take some Windex and spray it on this rag and clean it up real good. I'm going to get that bead, I'm going to get this inner part right here, but I'm also going to get the back side, because the back side is where it seats too. Okay, it's all clean. Now I've got the wheel face up. This is the back side of the tire right here. We're going to put it over. Now with this, it's not a tight fit, so I don't really need to lube it, but if you do have like a weld-on beadlock, then the top bead is going to be just as thick as the back, and you'll need to lube this up really good with some soap or soapy water before you can slide it over there. This one is not an issue. Just going to lay it on like that, work it around. Alright, got it. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it upright so that I can caulk it in here with that RTV. That ought to do it. That gives me access to the whole ring now that I've got it sitting like this. Now I know some people are going to give issue with this, but whatever. Okay, here's the tricky part, laying that back without smearing that sealant all over the place. Got my bucket back here. See if I can do it. Well, not quite. Close enough. Okay. Now I just need to get the tire to fit in that lip. I'm going to use these screwdrivers. I wish I had something that wasn't sharp, but use what you got, right? Alright, just needed a little persuasion to fit down over that lip. Now I'll just take a rag and clean any of that RTV up on the edge there. Alright, now it's time to pull up a seat and get comfortable because you're going to be here a while for this part. So find your ring. In this case we've got that spacer that goes in there, and then the ring. Now the hardware they give me is just the right length, so what I had to do is find some same size bolts that are a little bit longer, because at this point the stock hardware won't reach down to the nuts, won't go all the way through. So I have to find something longer, suck it down first. So I'm going to start, I'm going to do 4 points across from each other. So we'll start here and here. Alright, I've got that longer bolt in there, but it still won't reach, so I need to take another longer bolt, tighten it down on this side so we can squish it down to get this to catch. A little further. There. Now I can release these two and then go do it on the other side as well. Once you get that done 4 times over, you can go ahead and take out your longer starter bolts, set those aside, and we should be able to fit all of these in here and get them started. I think there's 32 of these all the way around. Okay, now here comes the fun part. Now, you're supposed to do this by hand, but over the years I feel like I've gotten a feel for my tools. I'm going to do this with the ratcheting wrench, and I can kind of feel when it gets down to that point where I need to use, do it by hand. But the trick is, we're just going to go around and snug these up slowly and surely, and we're going to keep going around in a circle, because if you start here, you go around, even though you tighten this to begin with, by the time you get around, all these others have sucked it down even further, and this one is going to be loose again. So you have to go around a whole crap ton of times, and the directions say to pull it all the way down until it cinches tight on the other side. So with this spacer in here, that seems like a good idea, and is what I did on all the other wheels. And some wheels you can't do that with, like the weld-on beadlocks. If you have a flat ring out here, it's going to cone. When you pull it down, it's going to cone, and sometimes you can't get it all the way flat. But the way that Raceline has built these, it's got a beveled edge up here and a rounded lip, so that this bottom piece is down deeper, and you can actually tighten it all the way down. And it says 16 to 18 foot-pounds, and you do that 3 times around each. I'm just going to do this with the wrench, go around and around and around and around until I feel that it's tight enough, and then I'll do it by hand. So, ear protection, here we go. Okay, so I'm all the way around, and guess what? Just like I said, that first one's completely loose again. So, here we go again. Okay, so I've gone around about 5 times with this thing. I can feel it's starting to get tight, so I'm going to switch over, do it by hand now. Now I know there's those torque Nazis out there that think that everything has to be torqued to spec. I feel like I can just judge and feel it by hand. I can feel how tight that is. I can feel right there it's starting to stretch the threads, and that's where I need to stop. So I'm going to take note of where I'm starting at, go around, then I'll see if that's still tight. You also want to take into account the size of the bolt that you're tightening down. You know, if you've got a 3/4 inch bolt, obviously you want a 1/2 inch drive with a big long bar on it, but this is just a tiny bolt. I don't know what that is, 5/16 or something. Not much bigger than a 1/4 inch, but for that you want a smaller ratchet. Okay, I got all the way back around. I can feel that that last one, or the one that I started on, is still tight, so I'm going to stop there. If you want, you can go back and check. Yep, tight, tight, tight. Okay, what's next? You don't have to take it off the bucket to do this, but let me show you. What you're going to do is take your soapy water. I'm just going to spray around the edge. Now you might not have to do this, but it just gives me peace of mind to know that it's going to slip down over there easy and seat that bead. God, that thing's heavy. Okay, this is the last step. All we need to do is get our air chuck. We're going to kind of push down on the edges, and we're going to fill this up with air. Listen for it and you'll see it pop, and that's it seating the bead. That was it. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is air it up to about 10 pounds. You actually want to air it up to the max, which on this is about 25 pounds. That way it'll seat the bead really good on the back side. But for right now, since I have that RTV in there, I don't want to push all that out, so I'm just going to put 10 pounds in it and call it a day. And I'll seat it at 25 pounds later on. Check it out. That looks sweet. Those are 40-inch tire. Well, 39.5, almost 40 inches. On Raceline beadlock wheels. If you're interested in those, check out the description below. I'll leave a link to the wheels for you. Well, okay guys, thanks for watching. In the comments below, let me know what you think. To seal or not to seal? Should I have used RTV, silicone, or should I not have? Let me know in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.
All transmissions have been canceled. Now we are